Are you afraid of spiders? Well, as you just saw, the protagonist in the Spider Labyrinth had a memorable encounter with one of the 8-legged creatures as a child and ever since suffered from arachnophobia. And his present predicament proves that this is for good reasons. Hi there, it's Micha. If you'd like to find out more about this Italian horror movie from the late 80s, then join me for this review video. In the Spider Labyrinth, we follow young Professor Alan Whitmore on a strange journey. As the coordinator of the In Texas project that collects data from all over the world, he is sent to Budapest to find out why their local associate, Professor Roth, failed to send in his latest report.
It goes without saying that this project must be kept absolutely secret to avoid speculation before we have all the answers.
The project's goal is to determine how religious sects could independently emerge in 3000 BC all over the world that worship the exact same gods. How come they were interconnected like a spiderweb that stretched over the entire planet?
Professor Whitmore, I presume.
When Alan meets Roth, his wife tells him that he is not well. Sure enough, he finds Roth clearly afraid, paranoid and probably mentally disturbed, but is handed some Polaroids of an ancient tablet that Roth claims to be vital to the project.
Here you'll find fundamental indications. Be very careful. Don't say a word to anybody.
I'll look at it later.
In that moment, a black ball is thrown through the window, which scares Roth shitless. And a second later, he is nowhere to be found. Planning to return later in the evening, Alan leaves the place to check into his hotel, which is located just a few steps away.
Your room is ready. Second floor. Shh. Internal courtyard. It's very quiet.
When he returns to the professor's apartment, he runs into the police and learns that Roth was killed, and that the man doesn't have a wife. However, as the window is repaired, the inspector clearly doubts at least parts of Alan's statements. Back in the hotel, everyone is acting weirdly, as if they are controlled by a shared interest or force. The only people behaving differently are a chambermaid and a homeless man who try to warn Alan, telling him to leave Budapest before it is too late.
You'll make a big mistake not to listen to me. You're in great danger, Professor Whitmore.
And Genevieve, Roth's assistant, who appears overeager to inject herself into Alan's investigation.
I would like you not to keep secrets from me. No important secrets. I would like to be able to do something.
And who Alan is periodically peeping at as she lives across the street from his hotel room and apparently doesn't own neither clothes nor curtains. Soon Alan doesn't know anymore who he can trust. Could it be that the sects are still active today and that they try to stop the In Texas project, which puts him into their crosshairs? And is there more to the spider angle than the sects just being interwoven? He will soon find out. I know I say this a lot, but this was a weird one. Maybe this is why I chose the movie. Maybe I'm looking for the weird. However, this one is actually weird on purpose, because the film apparently leans into a subgenre called the weird, which goes back to works from authors like H.P. Lovecraft, especially his Call of Cthulhu. In a nutshell, weird fiction is about reinterpreting traditional antagonists of supernatural horror fiction, often with people being thrown into situations that neither they nor the readers or here watchers fully understand, with the threat often being alien, which includes being from other dimensions. For that reason, the movie has many followers raving about the atmosphere and storytelling that is meant to create the same dread that takes hold of the protagonists in our heads as well. And there are several scenes that try to do just that. If that is successful though is another question, because for me there were also other reasons why I thought this movie to be weird, and I mean in the weird way. The most prominent thing was the movie's editing, which sometimes cuts away quite abruptly, giving the feeling that something was removed in a rush here or there. For context, in Germany, especially in the latter half of the 80s and all through the 90s, movies, especially horror, was edited to remove violence, mainly to protect minors. Those edits were often made clumsily and dreadfully obvious. While this movie was always released uncut in Germany, almost every review I found was questioning that, assuming that the version they saw was heavily edited. So it is not just me thinking this. The visuals are a mixed bag. Some camera shots were truly atmospheric and are compared to the work of Dario Argento, but others looked pretty plain. Same goes for the set designs. Some are great, others looked a bit ridiculous. Maybe this was on purpose too, but for me it didn't really land well. It also might be that this movie overall appeared dated today, as it is over 35 years old. A fact that shocks me a bit, as this is a movie I can clearly remember being released on VHS, which makes me old as well. I also remember that I wanted to watch it back then, but couldn't get hold of it. Therefore I was happy when it was released, in 4K no less, and was looking forward to finally close one of those "I always wanted to see this one" gaps in my movie history. Another reason I was keen on this one, the effects were done by Sergio Stivaletti, who did some great work in that field in movies like Demons, Argento's Opera and other Italian horror classics. The little he got to do in this one I can only also describe as weird, like the appearance of the main antagonist. Especially the famous transformation scene close to the end had some moments that even in the 80s looked cheap, while other moments looked pretty cool. Another mixed bag here. Like I mentioned, apparently some storytelling elements were meant to consciously confuse us, but that doesn't explain, at least in my opinion, some plot holes and things that made no sense however you look at them. Some quick examples. If Alan is the coordinator of the project, why was he unaware of the missing reports and sent on the journey by the project owners, other than do some exposition for us?
He's naive to the situation.
It's better for us. Perhaps we should have told him everything.
Those guys then hinted, after he left, that they maybe should have told him all they know, but we later see that they didn't know anything more than they shared with Alan, or that he already knew himself. Likely meant to create mystique, but had nothing to back that up. Then people told him to leave, but why didn't they leave themselves, as they were in danger too? Answer: because they were just supporting characters. I give them props for even addressing that by one character raising this themselves, though ultimately there was no believable answer for it.
Why are you doing this? Escape too, they could kill you.
My life now is here. I have to stay here and save others.
The thing that bugged me the most is the fact that there was no clear necessity for the whole plot centering around Alan. What the others want from him they could have easily gotten from Professor Roth as well, without any hustle, but then I guess we wouldn't have a movie. I could explain it to myself by making something that was said to Alan along the way a requirement for the movie's outcome, but that was so random I prefer not to go there. Then there is the movie's MacGuffin, the ancient tablet that holds the names of the gods. But we don't know why that had to remain a secret, with them even killing to keep it quiet. But it was so easy for Alan to find it. Which was irrelevant anyways, as he already had photos of it. I could go on, but I guess you get my point. I was also a little bit disappointed by the lack of spiders in a movie with this title. I mean, the little critters made a handful of extremely rare appearances, but those had next to no impact on the story. Of course, the title was at least partially referring to something else, but still. And with that being said, let's get to the rating. Like I said before, this one was weird, both in a good and in a bad way. It was a mixed bag regarding everything, from the effects over the visuals and the screenplay up to the acting. You can argue that this was all on purpose to lean into the weird, and for you this may totally work or not at all. For me it somehow worked, but not on a larger scale. Overall I was hoping for more and came out a bit disappointed. As always, situations like this make it tough to rate a movie, but I still gotta. To reflect the mixed bag, I guess 5 out of 10 points would be fine, but as I also was partially entertained, and I guess for nostalgia reasons, I will go with 5.5 out of 10 points. It is worth a watch, but I will likely not revisit this one anytime soon. But again, if this kind of weird is your cup of tea, you may see things differently. But what else is new? What about you? Have you seen this movie back in the day or recently when it was released in HD? Was it also on your to-watch list for decades? If you have seen it, what is your take? Do you agree with me? Whatever you like to share, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share or subscribe. So much for now, see you next time, and thanks for watching. The project's goal is to determine how religious sects could independently. Maybe this is why I choose the movie. Chose. As I was partially entertained and I guess for nostalgia reasons, we follow young Professor